In this lecture, we are looking at the drawer QtQuick component. This is a component that allows you to have a sliding panel like this. Okay, you see that when we click, we have something sliding in. A drawer allows you to build something like this. So we're going to create a new project in Qt Creator and play with this. File, new project, QtQuick application. We're going to call it drawer demo. Save it in the usual location. Choose our version of Qt and choose our kit. And we're going to have our project here. We should change this title to say drawer demo. Import our QtQuick controls. Let's go down and change the last number. And while we are here, we should import QtQuick layouts because we're going to need that. Layouts 1.4, it is available for us. And another thing we want to do is to change this to application window. Okay, this is a component that is available from QtQuick controls. We are actually going to look at this in detail. If you want to know more about it right now, you can click on F1 and you're going to have a bunch of things you can know about it. It basically is a window which makes it convenient to add menu bars, status bars, and things like that. We want to give an ID to our window here. We're going to say root ID. And we want to change its width and height so that it looks like a mobile application. We're going to change this to 520. We are going to specify a header property for this application window, and we are going to put in a toolbar. The toolbar can contain a bunch of things. We give it a height of 50, why not? And we give it a background rectangle. We give it a color mint cream. If you want to know what this color looks like, just hover on top of it and it looks like this. Inside the toolbar, we are going to have a row layout component. It's going to have a spacing of 20 and it's going to fill its parent. Its parent happens to be this toolbar component here. And inside, we're going to have a tool button component, a thing that is clickable by the user, and we're going to have a label piece of text. The tool button can also have a background. We're going to change it to the same background as the toolbar so that things look the same. It also supports providing an image that is going to be shown in that tool button, and you provide that through the icon source group property. And we are going to specify the path to the image here. So what I want to do is to add in another resource file. You already know how to do this, so I'm going to go pretty quick. Call it resource, hit next, and add it here. I am going to add a prefix and take out everything because I want my files to be where they are. And I am going to show this in Explorer to open where my project is stored on my drive. You can do the same thing or similar thing on a Mac and Linux computers. I am going to create a new folder in here, call it images, and I am going to open it and put in an image that I had prepared. I'm going to come back to my resource file and add files. And if I go in, I am going to see my drawer image provided. I want to save this. And if I go back in the toolbar of ours, I can say images drawer.png, and I am going to have my icon here. I also want to know when this tool button is clicked, so I'm going to say console log tool button clicked, and we are going to do something else. Okay, so we are going to open the drawer. Let's flag this here. Now we should put some information in the label here. I am just going to paste in some code that I have, and I am going to try and explain it. Control A, Control I to align. It basically is a label, and it has some text to show and a few properties. And we want this label component to fill any width that is available in this row layout component. Now that we have our toolbar, which is slightly complicated to be honest, we should provide our drawer component. We're going to say drawer, and we should look at its documentation to see what they have to say about it. So we say drawer. What is it? Provides a swipe-based side panel similar to those often used in touch interfaces to provide a central location for navigation. This is what it is, and they have it here. So we should give it an ID. We call it drawer ID. Its width is going to be the minimum, so we're going to say math minimum. We can do this from JavaScript, if you remember, and it's going to be the minimum between the width and the height of this application window element. We want to take into account if the user interface is rotated. Okay, that's why we're doing this. So we're going to say root ID width, root ID height. Okay, so we want to have the minimum of these two things and make the width of this drawer equal to 2/3 of that. I hope this makes sense. Okay, the height is going to be the same as the root element. So we're going to say root ID height, and we want it to be interactive. We want the user to interact with it. Okay, now that we have the drawer, we need a way to lay out components inside of it. Okay, we defined it. Now we want to put some content inside. If you remember what we had when we started this lecture, we had a few buttons inside the drawer. So we're going to do the same. We're going to put a column layout. Spacing is going to be, let's do 20. And we want it to fill its parent, which is this drawer here. And inside we can put in a few buttons. I'm going to put in the first one, Control A, Control I to align. It basically is a normal button. It has the width of its parent, it has a height, it says item 1, it has a font size, it has a color for the background. It basically isn't nothing you haven't seen already. And we are going to copy it and paste it a couple of times. So we're going to paste it here and paste it here again. The second one is going to say item 2. The color is going to be yellow green. You can put in whatever you want. Clicked on item 2. The third one is going to say item 3. The color is going to be Dodger blue. And it says clicked on item 3. Okay, and you see that whenever we click on any of these buttons, we close the drawer. Let's go back and see that we called it drawer. We should say drawer ID close and say the same thing. Copy, paste, and paste here. Okay, so we should go back to the tool button for the toolbar here, and when we click, we want to open the drawer, so we should say drawer ID open. And before we run the application, I know you want to run to see what is available, but we need to provide the main content for our user interface, and you put it in the root element right here. Okay, so when you run the application, the drawer is not going to be visible. It is invisible by default. You show it by calling the open method, and you hide it by calling the close method. Our main content is going to be nothing but the good old rectangle. It's going to fill the available width and height And it's going to have this color, light steel blue. And if you want to see what it looks like, hover over it and you're going to see this. Now I think we are ready to run this thing and see what it looks like. Okay, we have our thing here. If we click here, you see that our drawer opens and it says tool button clicked. If we click on item 1, clicked on item 1 and the drawer closes, and you see the same effect if you click on any of the buttons in here. The only problem is that we have too much space between the elements in here. So we're going to go back to our code and examine what we have in our drawer. We basically don't want it to fill the parent. We want it to have the same width as the parent. So we're going to say width, parent, width, and let's put this spacing at 0. Let's see what we get. We have our app here. We click here. You see that this is what we set out to do. Click and you see the drawer goes away. And if you click in the tool button here, you see that the drawer opens. And you can close it by clicking outside of it as well. We can do something more interesting when we close it. We can actually change the color of this rectangle here. So we're going to give it ID, content, rect ID. And when we click, before we close the drawer, we're going to say content, rect ID, color, change this to red for the first button, change it to green for the second button. Let's do that and change it to blue for the third button. Let's run and see if our thing works. We have our application. Click on first item. The background turns red, green, click again, and blue. And ladies and gentlemen, this is how you work with the drawer component. In the next lecture, we're going to look at the Spinbox Qt Quick control. I'll see you there.